A very good morning, Zimbabwe, and welcome to Africa and Beyond Television Network. And we need to take a look on some suspicions of criminal activity which is continuously happening in the nation of Zimbabwe. You know, this is not a good picture at all for our nation. Remember, we need to have a nation which tries by all means possible to isolate itself from criminal enterprise and criminal activity. But seems as if the government which we have in place continues to protect criminals, continues to embark on criminal activities. And President Emmerson Mnangagwa is always at the center of everything. Not because of hatred, but because of how he treats things, because of how he deals with the things. So Majara Jaro says, I suspect Mnangagwa's criminal enterprise is using this GL5 N550GA private jet to move diamonds and gold out of the country. It has left Zimbabwe a few hours ago, on its way probably to the gold and diamonds market in Dubai. The reason why these suspicions are always high is because, number one, our borders are porous. Number two, things are being done nicodemously and undercover. That is the problem and challenge which we have in Zimbabwe. We need to have a government which is going to be transparent, which is going to understand whatever which is happening, talk to its people, communicate with its people. So at this point in time, if you take a look onto the criminal activities happening, go to the Chivayos. So much criminal activity happening there. Gwanda Solar Project, up to this day, all these scandals which have happened. Go to the Mike Chimombes, all these scandals. Go to the gold mafia itself. It's detailed how gold is being looted from Zimbabwe. So less than 10% is being delivered into the coffers of our government. And more than 90% is being looted out of Zimbabwe. And the president is there as the first citizen who must make sure that he protects the constitution and is quiet. So whatever which is happening in Zimbabwe, this criminal cartel and criminal activity must stop. The onus is on the citizens, on the civilians, to make sure that they stop this criminal enterprise. Whatever which is happening at this point in time, we need to get to a point where we agree that these things are being done wrongly and there is need for an intervention. That intervention can only happen when the citizens agree on one thing. Let us hold Emmerson Mnangagwa and this government accountable. If Mnangagwa can't be accountable, then he does not need to continue to be a president in the Republic of Zimbabwe. Because you can only be a president when you prioritize accountability. You are the person who is overseeing the coffers of this nation. Zimbabwe is doing little despite having much in terms of resources, in terms of minerals, in terms of talent. We have human resources, we have the natural resources. These are critical in terms of developing Zimbabwe because we can use them anyhow to the benefit of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, at this point in time, do you know that if things start to work, Zimbabwe will provide more jobs for its citizens and even other people outside because we are 40 years behind other nations. We are 40 years behind other nations, which means for us to be at par with them, we have to embark on a robust development plan. That robust development plan will need a government which sees and prioritizes important things. What it means is you need to have a government which is saying zero looting, zero corruption, zero smuggling. And it means every cent and every dollar is coming into the government coffers. It means you are prioritizing the education sector, the manufacturing sector, the industry, the health sector, the construction and infrastructure sector, everything, the agriculture and farming sector, everything is being prioritized. When you have such a government, then you know that things are now moving. So what amuses me is Zimbabwe was celebrating recently a 10 million loan facility from I think it's a British company or whatever, to our bank, and said this 10 million is going to get into the agricultural sector. But 87 million was looted by just two individuals on behalf of Madala. 100 million from Zimbabwe Electoral Commission cannot be accounted for. 90 million from NASA cannot be accounted for. 600 million from pension funds was swept away with inflation. 600 million United States dollars. What happened to those United States dollars? It's because of corruption. There was a point where mari dzaingodirwa mabondi achidirwa mabondi pachitorwa mari chaiyo musvi mayusa. And that is how monies were looted. Salaries were looted, pensions were looted. I have been saying this for a very long time now. This is a very sensitive matter. ZANU-PF people must start to be serious about the future of this country, because we can never continue to live under pretense, and it can't. If you go to the rural areas, the setup there, everything is dry, everywhere is dry. Things are hard, things are difficult, things are tight. But guess what is happening? People are suffering on a daily basis. And we are quiet about it. So it must come to a point where we agree on certain matters and principles and say, guys, let us deal with these issues as they are. At this point in time, we need to be serious, we need to be truthful, and we need to make sure that we hold this government accountable. We cannot continue to have suspicions of smuggling on a daily basis. Everything must be accounted for. Everything must be transparent. Such that when the government speaks, the people will listen to that government. But as long as we have a crooked government which is not dealing with corruption, a government which is supporting and promoting corruption, then we have a problem. The only reason why Vanampofunana Nivaka is because of factional battles and the fear of protests. That is the honest truth. So we need a change of culture, we need a change of mindsets, a change of how we do things. And President Mnangagwa, if he wanted to leave a good legacy, he could have dealt with corruption the moment he got into power. But he failed. Which means his legacy is going to be a legacy of corruption, mismanagement, looting, plunder, and as you know, all the past history is coming back to haunt him. So sometimes doing good now would have saved him what happened in the 80s, because at least we were going to get to a point of sitting down truthfully, then address the issues of Gukura Wende. Kana vanhu vaizoti taregererana chokwadi chichabuda pachena. But you know, when you fail, then it becomes a problem. He could have distanced himself from all these issues in a more better way. People were going to say, guys, Murumo yakatadza akumbira regerero, he has resolved this issue of Gukura Wundi, he has resolved issues of corruption, looting, plunder, mismanagement. Let us forgive him. And I believe that he was going to be forgiven. But at this point in time, I don't see this current president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, being forgiven by the Zimbabweans. Because people are suffering, guys. We are talking about suffering people. I want to tell you this. A Chinese man who was beating civilians, workers, was deported back to China without saving. But this is what we are told. But right here, a Zimbabwean who has not committed any crime is sentenced to effective 20 months in prison for a crime he didn't commit. For a crime he didn't commit. But my Chinese, they are spared jail. And the reason is, okay, if these people are using the resources and overburdening the prisons, why are you doing the same? Why are you overburdening the prisons the same way with the Avontel 78, with all these political prisoners? Zimbabwe is no longer a safe country. When you are walking in Harare every day, uri kucheuka cheuka kuti hapana here ari kunditeera, hapana here chinogona kuitika. Because arrests aside, you can be kidnapped, you can be abducted, and you can be beaten. Anything can happen to you. So this is the kind of Zimbabwe we are living in. I hope and believe that Zimbabweans, one day, we will live in a better country. I hope that one day we will live in a better country. So I love you all. Thank you very much for coming.